I just got back from a trip to Costa Rica, and I wanted to share all the gear that I brought with me to help you plan your next trip either here or to a similar location. This video will be about my gear and packing list. However, in a future video, I plan to do a more in-depth trip review, talk about where I went, what I did, and offer some tips to hopefully make your next trip better. This was different than most of my trips because I was going to visit family who was staying on the southwest coast near Manuel Antonio. We got really cheap flights through Avianca. However, we had to use personal item only, 18 by 14 by 8 bag that had to fit under the seat. And because I love testing new bags, I decided to go with the GoRuck GR2 for this trip. This is 18 by 12.5 by 7.25. It's actually much smaller than what we're allowed to bring. At the airport, I tested the fully packed bag in the Avianca Sizer box. It fit easily, it also fit under the seat, and obviously it also fit in the overhead. A quick note about my Avianca experience on this flight. They had a Sizer box at all the gates. However, I never saw them check a single person for their personal item size. They also give you literally nothing for free on the plane, so make sure you have lots of snacks and water, otherwise you'll have to pay for them. In addition to my main backpack, I also wanted something smaller as a day pack. I decided to go with this is the Tortuga packable day pack. I won't talk about it too much because it's actually not released yet. However, it did work very well for my trip. For further organization, I used one cube for clothes and another gear cube. The GR2 has a ton of organization. This thing probably isn't necessary, but I wanted something smaller that I could take on the plane, and it folds basically completely flat when it's empty. I wanted good compression for my clothes. I didn't have a ton because the weather's really warm. This is the Eagle Creek medium compression cube. One of the best ones I have that just offers a lot of compression, squishes your clothes down to fit easier in your bag. To compare that with the Peak Design pouch that I usually use, Eagle Creek is a little bit longer, skinnier. Peak Design, a little bit more rectangular, and it's quite a bit fatter, so a little bit bigger than the amount of clothes that I needed. For clothes, I didn't need a whole lot in this cube. In addition to what I was wearing on the plane, I just had 2 pairs of shorts. I was testing out the Western Rise Evolution shorts, which work great. Also have a drawstring, so they double as swim trunks. Everything else in this cube, just 3 lightweight t-shirts, 3 pairs of underwear, and just 1 pair of socks. Also in my bag, 1 pair of minimalist sandals. These are the Zero Z-Trail EV, and then a lightweight sil nylon poncho by Sea to Summit. To offset my packing, I wore the heaviest, bulkiest clothes on the plane, Western Rise Evolution pants, their Versa hat, still some of my favorite clothes for travel. This is a long sleeve, it's just a really thin material, sun shirt, more for sun protection than actual warmth. And then this is an older pair of the Merrell Vibram Barefoot. I wanted something that was gonna be really small. I was wearing them, but I wanted to be able to switch back and forth between my sandals and have these not take up too much room in my pack. Costa Rica can be incredibly hot on the coast. Assuming you'll be outside a good portion of the day, you're probably gonna be sweating, showering, and changing clothes multiple times a day. Lightweight clothes that are really easy to wash and dry, I think is important. I had access to a washing machine for a good portion of this trip, so I think that allowed me to take fewer clothes than I normally would have otherwise. Electronics were minimal, no laptop, but I almost always bring my e-reader, smaller gear, phone, battery pack, charge cord. For the plane, I use the Google Pixel Buds Pro. Noise canceling, I've had these for 3 months and still love them. Costa Rica uses the same plugs as North America. I didn't need an adapter, but I like to test these things. So again, I brought the 70-watt Epicta GAN travel adapter. This thing has 5 ports. I think it works great for travel, especially with multiple people, even if you don't need a plug adapter. I brought the AirFly Pro again. This is for connecting the in-seat television to your earbuds or earphones. Avianca is way too budget for that though. None of my flights had television, so I didn't get a chance to use it. This little flashlight I've been bringing lately was incredibly helpful. I went on a night boat tour, which this thing worked great, super bright. Also has this UV light option, which works great. Some areas like Costa Rica have scorpions. This thing lets you see them at night, which I think is pretty cool. I did, however, bring 2 new pieces of gear that I thought might be useful on airplanes. I wanted to test them with the intention of using them as phone stands. This first one, it's called the iFlex. It's basically just a piece of metal with a thick rubber coating on it. I intended to use this one. I thought it'd be useful to fold this thing into the seat back pocket to use as a phone holder. And indeed, it does work great for that. However, this thing is a little bit bulky. The second piece of gear I tested is this Night Eyes gear tie, basically just a large bendy twist tie. This thing ended up working almost as well as the iFlex for a phone stand, worked in the airplane. However, this thing ended up having a ton of more uses and takes up way less space and weight. For example, it does double duty, phone stand, either on the plane or just a flat surface. You can also use it as just a basic gear tie for tying gear on the outside of your pack. For toiletries, I brought my most minimalist setup. This is the Eagle Creek extra small toiletry bag because it's the smallest one I have. These are all my toiletries, pretty basic setup for me. Solid shampoo bar, in a breathable soap bag, razor, folding toothbrush, mini mirror, a few other things. I'll put a full list of all this in the description below. This little pill container has been working out great for me. Just a small foldable case with 10 little areas for pills, labels, just let you carry a small amount of multiple pills, and if you need anything more, you can just go to the pharmacy at your location. A few other miscellaneous items. I didn't bring a water bottle because I was able to borrow one. However, you should definitely bring a reusable water bottle. Costa Rica is trying to completely get rid of single-use plastics, and you can't even take them into some of the national parks. Sunglasses in this little Zenny case. The thing works great, and it's only a couple dollars. Pen, pencil, a little sleep mask that I use occasionally. And then really important, I think, for food storage, some sort of reusable bag, and then little mini binder clips that you can use for securing bags, chips, stuff like that. This is all I bring for security. This is the Night Eyes Micro Lock. A little clip here. Keeps these little gates from opening. Really low-key way to add a little bit of extra security, lock your zippers together without really being very noticeable. Money and ID, I use a larger wallet for my passport, any kind of travel documents that I have, receipts, everything I store in here. Usually keep this in my bag. On my person, this is the Chums Surf Short wallet. This thing is great. 2 pockets, little divider, clear window, key ring. I attach a small piece of cord to this so I can loop it around my belt so I don't have to worry about losing it. This thing right here is called a clippa. It's basically a bag hook for hook your bag on one end, hook it over the table or over a hook in the bathroom stall. Basically an alternative to the Hero Clip. It's about the same size, but it's a little bit easier to use, a little lower key, and I think works just as well. Travel towel is the Matador Nano Dry. This thing will barely dry you off. However, it's just really tiny, packs down to almost nothing. For me, it also does double duty. When you're hiking, you can get this thing wet, wrap it around your neck, help keep you cool. I also like to tuck it into my hat. You can use it kind of like a sunshade to help block out the sun. This little thing is super handy. It's a nano bag. This thing holds a ton of weight, takes up virtually no room. Go ahead and get one of these if you don't have it. It's just so incredibly useful, as it's almost silly to not bring it. I use it as a grocery bag, used it on almost every trip I've had since I got this thing. Finally, I brought a small pair of travel binoculars. I bought these when I went to the Galapagos a couple of years ago. I usually take them on trips as there's gonna be a lot of nature viewing opportunities. For example, the bird watching in Costa Rica is amazing. Definitely needed them for that. These things are a little expensive. However, Zeiss is a great brand. These are some of the best binoculars that you can get that fold down into such a really tiny package. As far as packing goes, the GR2 has so many pockets and compartments. I think it's a good idea to kind of plan out where you're gonna put stuff, where you want things to be before you start packing this bag. For example, this front compartment has a large pocket here that's really easy to get to from outside of the bag. Also a bunch of other small zippers, pockets, and dividers. I put almost all of my small gear in here. Really convenient, lets you get to all this stuff without having to open up the main compartment. There's this bonus stretchy sleeve on the inside back here. It's actually a really good place for thin gear, like my sandals slide right in there very easily. Clothes in the compression cube fits nicely in the main compartment. You can see this pocket is not incredibly deep, but I have a little bit more room here in the top, or if I want to put stuff over here in these pockets. Also plenty of room in the rest of the main compartment. Up here I have plenty of room, toiletry bag, blocky charger, poncho, binoculars, and my travel towel. For the flight, I packed all the electronics that I wanted easy access to in my pouch. I put this right here on top of the bag. When I get on the plane, if it's a full flight, I'll put the whole bag underneath the seat. I can just pull this out and have easy access to it. If the flight isn't too big, I can also pull this out. I'll just put the bag in the overhead. You can use these top pockets. They work really great for clothes, dirty clothes, if you don't have a clean, dirty cube. I just kind of use these to store some of the random items that I didn't need to get right away. And over here on this side, I still have plenty of room, so I'm just gonna lay the packable day pack in here flat. If you haven't used one of these before, the organization has 2 compartments. This front one's completely separated, has a ton of pockets, gear, organizers, these 2 basic pockets that you can pretty easily get to from the top, as well as a large front slash pocket. And then finally, laptop compartment here in the back of the bag, which is where I stuff my e-reader. This is what the GR2 looks like, fully packed with everything that I had there. Again, this easily worked as a personal item, fit under the seat, fit in the sizer box. I had a little bit more in here when I went on the flight because I had some snacks and stuff in here, but essentially everything is the same. I just weighed it, it's about 14.3 pounds or 6.5 kilograms. As far as my experience with this setup, I think it worked well. I was only there for a little bit over a week, but 3 t-shirts, 2 pairs of shorts worked out well because I was able to do laundry mid-trip. It's the dry season right now. I didn't think I was gonna need my poncho. I brought it just in case. We ended up going on a trip to the cloud forest in Monteverde where it rains almost constantly, and it ended up actually being really useful. The GR2 is a little bit bulkier than what I usually bring, but I was actually surprised by how much I ended up liking this bag. It's incredibly solid, well organized, it has a ton of organization, and easily works as a personal item. The lay flat design, really easy to pack the main compartment. If you can pack small enough to fit in this pack and you don't mind the price tag, this is an extremely well-built and useful travel backpack. I hope you enjoyed this overview on my trip to Costa Rica with the GoRuck GR2. Let me know in the comments below if you have any questions, and again, thanks for watching.